All right. So this has been swirling around for a little bit, and I wasn't going to make a video on it, but everyone's talking about it, and it's become official this morning. Tuesday, July 27th, Oklahoma and Texas have submitted an application to be invited to the SEC in 2025. Now, should the SEC add them? Or should they say, sorry, get out? Let's take a look. So, what would this mean for the SEC? Well, the SEC is already the highest earning conference in terms of money. They've got the SEC network and all that stuff. I think they're a pretty decent way above the next highest earning conference, which is the Big Ten, I believe. There's no doubt that this would bring them a lot more money. I mean, you're having two extremely high-profile teams in Texas and Oklahoma who have national championships and a pretty storied program history. You'd also get the money from the Longhorn Network, I believe, if that's still a thing. And there'd obviously be more games to play. More games means more TV time. More TV time means more ad revenue. More ad revenue means more money. So there's no doubt that they would get a lot more money adding these teams. I just don't know if they're going to do it. Because you'd be getting to the point where there are too many teams. There's already 14 teams. So there's just already so many. I mean, I just don't see how they could add more. I don't see how that could happen. Now, if they were to do this, you'd have to realign the divisions. Or they could just do no divisions, which I'm not a fan of no divisions, okay? A lot of people in college football, they're like, oh, we hate divisions. We hate divisions. It's not fair. You need to do it like the Big 12 and have everyone play. Oh, and we'll get to the Big 12 later. And, oh, yeah. Here's why I like divisions. It makes the regular season a lot more important. Like, that's how you get game of the century matchups. Like, let's say Alabama and is a common scenario. Alabama and LSU are both undefeated going towards the end of the year. They play each other. That game's for the division. If you don't win that, tough. You're not winning the conference. You're not making the playoff. Whereas in the Big 12, it's, Texas and Oklahoma, the top two teams of the conference, they're undefeated. They're going to play, and, they're just going to play again? That's stupid. I don't like that. I like the more intense regular season matches. So that's why I like divisions. Okay. You would have to put Oklahoma and Texas in the West because they would be the furthest west. They'd be the furthest west SEC teams, which means you would have to take two teams from so that would give you 9 in the West, which means you would have to take one from the West and put them in the East. And I think the furthest east SEC West team would probably be... See, you got to keep Ole Miss and Mississippi State in the same division. You got to keep Auburn and Alabama in the same division. I don't know. That actually... Okay, move Missouri to the West and then put Bama and Auburn in the East. That's what I would do. That way you'd have everything be even. So, yeah. So in the West, you would have Texas, Oklahoma, Texas A&M. That's another thing. I would like to see the rivalry between Texas A&M and Texas renewed. That would be awesome. Because, yeah, I think that'd be awesome to have Texas A&M and Texas have that rivalry be back together. I think that'd be really cool. So that's a positive from Texas and Oklahoma joining the SEC. So anyway, in the West, you would have Oklahoma, Texas, Texas A&M, Mizzou, LSU, Mississippi State, Arkansas. And then in the East, you'd have Florida, Georgia, Kentucky, South Carolina, Tennessee, Vandy, Alabama, and Auburn. I think that would make them the most even. Yeah. I think that would make everything the most even. Now, should the SEC add Texas and Oklahoma? What does this mean for the Big 12? The Big 12 is already not in the greatest spot. They've only got 10 teams already. And I think this could be a Big 12. Yeah. Anyway, the Big 12 could be in some serious trouble if Texas and Oklahoma leave, because obviously they may not be the best teams in the conference right now, but they definitely give that conference the most money. They're definitely the two highest profile teams. They're definitely the ones bringing in the money for the conference. Texas obviously brings the Longhorn Network. So they obviously bring all of that. Now, here's the thing. If Texas and Oklahoma leave, will they even be considered a Power 5 conference? I guess they still would, but I just don't see how they wouldn't have that many really great teams. Like, what would the best teams that are left? What? Oklahoma State? That's another thing. You're going to get rid of the rivalry between Oklahoma and Oklahoma State? You're going to make Bedlam an out-of-conference game? Don't like that, man. Not at all. But who would be the best teams left? Baylor. In basketball, I think they'd be fine because you've got Kansas. I think we're forgetting about basketball. In basketball, you would still have Kansas, and Baylor just won a national championship. You'd still have them. So I think it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world in basketball sense, because Oklahoma and Texas, while good in basketball, aren't as good as Kansas. And, I mean, Baylor just won a national championship. So I know traditionally Baylor isn't really that great, but, I mean, they just won a national. I mean, I don't know what you want me to say. I don't know. So who would you have? You would have 8 teams. You would have Kansas, Iowa State, West Virginia, TCU, Kansas State, Baylor. Hold on. Did I miss someone? Oklahoma State, Kansas, Iowa State, West Virginia, TCU, Kansas State, Baylor, Texas Tech. That is a bleak-looking conference. And you would probably have to add teams to keep your conference afloat. Now, what teams could you add? BYU submitted an application to join the Big 12 a while back. Big 12 said no. Okay. I think an interesting pick could be Houston. You could add Houston to try to get them a little bit more. That's a Texas team you could add. I guess those would be the only ones. Yeah, I guess BYU and Houston would probably be your 2 best picks. But you're going to be losing a lot of money and I think respect if Oklahoma and Texas leave. I think that would be the big thing that you would lose should they leave. What would this now? The college football playoff is looking to expand. I think they said that, what's it called? I think in 2026, the college football, the 4-team format it's done. They're not doing it anymore, or they will look to expand because there are a lot of people that are upset with the way the playoff is set up. So I think they will expand once that contract is up, and that would be around the same time this will come into place because think about it, this isn't going to happen until 2025. So for now, at least, the Big 12 is going to be... The Big 12 will be okay for now. But if they leave, they're screwed, and they need to find some teams fast. And what do you get, Houston and BYU? That's not Oklahoma and Texas, man. But the SEC would just be raking in so much money. But here's another thing. I feel like the SEC could ask some teams to leave. Because they might just have too many teams. I feel like they could, if they had to ask a team to leave, it'd probably be Mizzou. And I would say Mizzou and Arkansas. They'd probably ask Mizzou and Arkansas to leave. And would they go back to the Big 12? Who knows? Um, who knows? They could go back to the Big 12, but I feel like what you might start seeing is only the SEC matters. It doesn't matter. Like, obviously, you're still going to have the Big 10. You're still going to have the ACC, and you're still going to have the Pac-12. But it's going to come to be, okay, those other conferences are fine, but SEC is the only one that matters. And I feel like that you're barking down a dangerous tree here. So, am I for Texas and Oklahoma joining the SEC? No, I am not for that. And I think a lot of SEC people don't like them, the prospect of them joining the SEC. A lot of SEC people aren't a fan of it. Do I think they will, and do I think the SEC will accept them? I think they will. I think there's just going to be so much money to gain that they're just not going to be able to pass it up. So I think they will end up joining the SEC. I don't want them to because I think there's already not a very great power balance in college football. The SEC is already so much better than all the other football conferences. This would just make it even worse, and it would just completely cripple the Big 12. The Big 12 might have to, go out of business. And then Texas Tech, West Virginia, Baylor, TCU, Kansas, they'll all have to find new conferences. So maybe they'll have to join, I don't know, the MAC. Who knows? But ultimately, it's not a big deal as of now. There's still a long time before it. All they've done is submit an application. The ACC could just say hell no and toss them aside. Or that's all that's happening. All there is an application. So don't worry about anything. But love you guys. Let me know what you have to say in the comments. I'm interested to see what you guys have to say. And yeah, see you next time.